The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning. Ambassador Marcus Reed was drinking his coffee and reviewing reports when every screen in Earth's United Defense Force headquarters suddenly lit up with the same signal. At first, he thought it was a system malfunction, but then the symbols began arranging themselves into recognizable patterns. "Sir," his assistant called from the doorway, slightly out of breath. "You need to see this. It's happening globally." Reed didn't need to be told twice. He was already walking quickly toward the main control room, his coffee forgotten on his desk. The corridors were filled with hurrying personnel, their faces a mixture of excitement and concern. The control room was chaos when he arrived. Dozens of analysts were working at their stations, while the massive main screen showed the same signal being received at stations worldwide. Director Anna Stone stood in the center of the room, her usually calm demeanor showing signs of strain. "Ambassador Reed," she nodded as he approached. "It seems today's the day." They had prepared for this moment for decades, but now that it was actually happening, Reed felt his heart racing. The symbols on the screen were slowly transforming into English text, evidence that whoever sent the message had been studying Earth's communications for some time. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Galactic Council." The message continued to appear, line by line, as translation computers worked to convert the alien signals. Reed noticed that similar translations were appearing in every major language on Earth simultaneously. "Your species is Durian. Our ATT. We wish to establish diplomatic relations." Director Stone's eyes narrowed. "They've been watching us," she said quietly. "The question is, for how long?" The message went on to describe the Galactic Council, a governing body of spacefaring civilizations that claimed authority over this sector of the galaxy. They spoke of peace, cooperation, and shared prosperity. But Reed had spent 30 years in diplomacy. He could read between the lines. "Notice how they emphasize their authority," he pointed out to Stone. "This isn't a friendly greeting. It's a power play." In the following hours, more messages arrived. The Council requested, no, demanded, a response within 24 Earth hours. They wanted to send representatives to meet with Earth's leaders. The location they suggested was just beyond Mars' orbit. Behind the scenes, Earth's military satellites quietly tracked the Council's ships. They had been there for days, hidden behind sophisticated cloaking technology that they thought would fool Earth's primitive detection systems. But humanity had long since developed ways to detect such vessels, though they had kept this capability secret. James Cooper, head of intelligence, joined Reed and Stone in the emergency briefing room. His tablet displayed detailed scans of the Council vessels. 17 ships, he reported, mostly diplomatic class, but there are 3 warships hanging back near Jupiter. They probably think we can't see them. Reed studied the scans. They're positioning themselves like we're a primitive civilization they need to impress or intimidate. Should we let them know we can see their whole fleet? Stone asked. No, Reed decided after a moment's thought. Let them think we're naive. It might work to our advantage. Earth's response was carefully crafted. They accepted the Council's greeting with appropriate awe and gratitude, playing the role of an emerging civilization excited to join the galactic community. Meanwhile, Project Shield Wall remained dormant but ready, disguised as a network of communication satellites and space debris. As Reed composed the official response, he couldn't help but smile. The Council clearly expected to find a young, impressionable species ready to be guided or controlled. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. The final line of his message read, "We look forward to learning from your wisdom and experience." What he didn't add was that humanity had already learned plenty, including things the Council probably wished they hadn't. As the message was transmitted, Reed turned to Stone. "Now we wait and see if they take the bait." Stone nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the quantum communicator at her belt. Earth's true technological achievement, hidden from prying eyes. Let them think they're in control, she agreed. For now. In orbit above Earth, the Council's ships received the message. Their commanders smiled at the appropriately humble response, never noticing the advanced scanning beams mapping every detail of their vessels, or the quantum sensors reading their communications. The trap was set, but not the one the Council thought they were creating. 3 days after first contact, the Council's true intentions became clear. Ambassador Reed sat in the United Earth conference room with representatives from every major nation, watching as the Council's message played on the large screen before them. As new members of the galactic community, the Council's speaker, a tall figure who called himself Ward, announced, "Earth must contribute to the collective security of our space. We require a security deposit of rare minerals and resources." The room remained silent as Ward listed the Council's demands: 500 tons of platinum, 1,000 tons of rare earth elements, and most concerning, 50 kilograms of antimatter. The Council claimed these resources were necessary for protection services. Director Stone, sitting next to Reed, quietly tapped notes into her tablet. "They're not even trying to hide that this is extortion," she whispered. Reed nodded slightly. The Council had arranged this broadcast to be seen by every human on Earth, probably expecting panic and submission. Instead, they found an unsettling calm. Furthermore, Ward continued, his tone growing firmer, "Earth must limit its military vessel construction to approved designs. The Council will provide appropriate templates for your level of development." President Adams stood up from her seat at the center of the conference table. "And if we refuse these generous terms?" she asked, her voice steady. Ward's expression shifted to what might have been a smile, though it wasn't entirely human-like. "We wouldn't want Earth to face the unfortunate dangers that unprotected systems often encounter. Space pirates can be quite troublesome." The threat was clear: pay up or face the consequences. After the transmission ended, the room erupted in controlled discussion. Admiral Thomas Gray approached the main podium with a data tablet. "Our quantum intelligence teams have intercepted some interesting communications," he announced. "The Council has done this before. 17 other developing worlds are currently paying similar protection fees." "And what happens to worlds that refuse?" someone asked. "According to our data," Gray continued, "they suffer mysterious attacks from pirates who use surprisingly advanced Council military technology." President Adams called for order. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've prepared for this possibility. Admiral Gray, what's the status of Shield Wall?" "Fully operational, Madam President. We can have it powered up in 6 hours if needed." Reed watched the reactions around the room. Most of the world leaders present knew about Project Shield Wall, Earth's hidden defensive system. Those who didn't were being quietly briefed by their advisors. "And our fleet?" the President asked. "Disguised as commercial vessels and space stations," Gray replied. "The Council's scans show exactly what we want them to see: a primitive space force barely worth noticing." Director Stone stood up next. "Our quantum computing division has already cracked their primary encryption. We're reading everything they send. The Council believes we're an easy target, and they've already started moving additional ships into the system." President Adams took a moment to consider their options. "Ambassador Reed, prepare our official response. Make it apologetic, perhaps even a bit frightened. Request a week to gather the resources they've demanded." Reed understood the strategy. "Give us time to complete our preparations." "Exactly." Adams nodded. "Director Stone, activate our deep space monitors. I want to know every ship they bring in." Admiral Gray, begin moving our real fleet into position, but keep them dark. The meeting continued for several hours as Earth's leaders coordinated their response. The Council would get their answer, but not the one they expected. Later that evening, Reed sent Earth's official response. "The people of Earth are honored by the Council's offer of protection. We humbly request 7 days to gather the required resources, Please understand that the collection and processing of such materials will take time for our limited technology. In his office afterwards, Reed watched the Council's immediate reply. Your request is granted. We look forward to a profitable relationship. Reed smiled grimly. The Council thought they were tightening their grip on another helpless world. Instead, they were walking into humanity's carefully laid trap. In 7 days, they would learn exactly how limited Earth's technology really was. Intelligence Officer James Cooper hadn't slept in 36 hours, but he couldn't stop now. His team had just made a breakthrough in decoding the Council's private military channels. What they found made him rush to the emergency command center at 3 in the morning. Director Stone needs to see this immediately, he told the guards, who quickly cleared him through security. Stone was already there, reviewing fleet positions on the main display. Earth's hidden ships appeared as small blue dots, carefully positioned behind asteroids and within the shadow of larger planets. The Council's forces showed up as red markers, their number growing by the hour. This better be important, Cooper, Stone said, though her expression showed curiosity rather than annoyance. Look at this, Cooper said, connecting his tablet to the main screen. We've cracked their military-grade quantum encryption. These are their actual battle plans. The display filled with tactical data. The Council wasn't just planning to collect resources from Earth. They intended to establish permanent control over the entire solar system. They're positioning ships for a full occupation, Stone observed, her eyes narrowing. How did you break their encryption so quickly? Cooper allowed himself a small smile. That's the interesting part. Their most advanced quantum computers are roughly 50 years behind ours. They think unbreakable encryption is still possible. Stone raised an eyebrow. 50 years. That can't be right. It is, Cooper insisted. We've been monitoring their communications for decades through our deep space array. Remember all those failed quantum computing projects we publicly announced? They weren't failures. We just kept the successes hidden. The door opened, and Ambassador Reed entered with Admiral Gray. They had been called as soon as Cooper arrived. Show them, Stone ordered. Cooper replayed the decoded transmissions. The Council's private messages revealed their true opinion of humanity, a primitive species that had barely mastered space travel, perfect for exploitation. There's more, Cooper continued. Their ships use a standardized control system. Once we crack their encryption, we can access their entire network. Gray finished, understanding dawning on his face. Exactly. Their arrogance is their weakness. They never imagined we could reach this level of technology without them noticing. Reed studied the tactical display. How many ships do they have in total? 43 now, Stone answered. They're still bringing in more. They want to make sure we can't resist when they reveal their true demands. And shield wall? Reed asked. Admiral Gray touched a control, and new data appeared. A complex network of satellites and defense platforms became visible, hidden beneath their disguise as commercial satellites and space debris. Fully operational, Gray reported. We can have the entire defense grid online in 4 hours. The Council's scans show only communication satellites and space junk, exactly what they expect to see. Cooper pulled up another display. Their ships use an advanced form of plasma shielding. They think it's impenetrable. But our quantum analysis has found a weakness. Their shield frequency has a slight fluctuation every 3.7 seconds. Just enough time to get a shot through. Gray nodded approvingly. Stone turned to Reed. We have 4 days left before we're supposed to deliver their protection payment. How should we proceed? Reed thought for a moment. We keep playing weak. Let them bring in more ships. The more forces they commit, the stronger our message will be. And if they decide to attack early? Stone asked. That's why we have shield wall, Gray answered. Let them think they're springing a trap on us. The surprise on their faces when they realize who really holds the power will be worth all these years of preparation. Cooper started transferring the decoded data to secure terminals around the room. Earth's leaders would need to see this. The Council thought they were dealing with simple, primitive humans. In 4 days, they would learn how badly they had underestimated humanity's strength. As the sun rose over the command center, Earth's hidden fleet continued its silent deployment. The Council's ships never noticed the advanced sensors mapping their every weakness, or the defense platforms tracking their every move. Humanity's trap was almost ready to spring. The Council's representatives gathered in their flagship's grand chamber, eagerly awaiting Earth's submission. First Speaker Ward stood at the center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the human leaders who would soon hand over their planet's resources. The transmission began right on schedule. But instead of a humble Ambassador Reed, they found themselves facing Admiral Gray, Director Stone, and President Adams. The humans' expressions weren't fearful. They were confident. "Honorable Council members," President Adams began, her voice firm. "We've reviewed your demands carefully. We have an alternative proposal." Ward's smile faltered slightly. This wasn't how these meetings usually went. "There is nothing to propose." The terms were clear. "Oh, yes," Admiral Gray stepped forward. "Very clear. Just like the terms you gave to the Centauri colonies, and the Rigel systems, and the other 17 worlds currently paying your protection fees." The Council chamber fell silent. Ward's face darkened. "You cannot possibly know about those." Director Stone cut in. "Just like we can't possibly know about your fleet's positions near Jupiter, or your plans to establish permanent control over our system." On cue, a new hologram appeared in the Council chamber. It showed every hidden Council ship, their exact positions marked in red. Several Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Impossible," Ward whispered. "Your technology isn't advanced enough to break your quantum encryption." Cooper's voice came through clearly as he joined the transmission. "We did that days ago. Would you like to hear your private messages about exploiting primitive species?" The Council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs as their supposedly secure communications began playing through their own systems. Conversations about extortion, exploitation, and conquest filled the air. "You've been operating unchecked for too long," President Adams declared. "That ends today." Ward slammed his fist down. "You dare threaten the Council? Our fleet will do nothing," Admiral Gray finished. "Look outside." The Council's view screens activated automatically. Around every Council ship, hidden defense platforms emerged from their disguised positions. Earth's real fleet decloaked, revealing vessels far more advanced than the primitive ships the Council had observed. "Shield wall activate," Stone commanded. Across the solar system, hundreds of satellites shed their simple disguises, revealing advanced weapon systems and defense platforms. A shimmering energy field began forming around Earth, far more sophisticated than anything the Council possessed. "While you watched our public spacecraft launches," Reed explained as he joined the transmission, "our real ships were being built in hidden facilities throughout the asteroid belt. You saw what we wanted you to see. And now," President Adams continued, "you have a choice. Option 1. Withdraw your forces immediately and end your extortion practices, not just here, but across the galaxy. We've already transmitted proof of your activities to every world in your so-called protection network." "Or Option 2, Ward asked, his voice hoarse. "We demonstrate exactly how outmatched your forces are," Admiral Gray answered simply. "Your shield frequency vulnerabilities, your weapons blind spots. We know them all. Care to guess how many of your ships we can disable before you can even raise shields?" The Council chamber descended into chaos. Several members were already calling for immediate withdrawal. Others demanded explanations for the exposed corruption. "You have 1 hour to decide," President Adams announced, "and to show we're serious." At her signal, Earth's defense platforms fired precisely calculated warning shots. Each beam passed through the tiny gaps in the Council ship's shield frequencies, stopping just millimeters from their hulls. "Impossible." Ward stumbled backward. "This level of precision. is far beyond what you thought we were capable of. Stone finished. 1 hour, Council members. Choose wisely. As the transmission ended, the Council's mighty fleet found itself surrounded by a human defense network that had been invisible just moments before. Their greatest weapons were now useless, their tactical advantages gone. In Earth's command center, Reed turned to his colleagues. Think they'll make the right choice? They'd better, Gray answered, watching the Council ships on the display. For their sake, news traveled fast across the galaxy. Within days of Earth's confrontation with the Council, every species under their control had seen the leaked evidence of corruption. The spark of rebellion that humanity lit was quickly becoming a fire. Ambassador Reed stood in Earth's communications center, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. The main screen showed various alien news broadcasts, all focusing on the same story: how a supposedly primitive planet had outmaneuvered the mighty Council. The Centauri colonies have stopped their payments, Cooper reported, reviewing the latest intelligence. 3 other systems have already followed their lead. Director Stone nodded approvingly. And the Council's response? Nothing yet. They're too busy dealing with internal chaos. Cooper pulled up more data. Half their member species are demanding investigations. The other half are trying to hide their involvement. A new alert flashed on the main screen. An incoming transmission from the Rigel system, one of the worlds that had been paying protection money to the Council for decades. Put them through, Reed ordered. The screen filled with the image of the Rigel Prime Minister. Earth, he began, his translator converting his words to English. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Your courage in standing up to the Council has given us all hope. We only did what was right, Reed replied diplomatically. You did more than that, the Prime Minister continued. You showed us all that the Council isn't invincible. We've begun our own investigation into their activities in our sector. The evidence we found. He paused, his expression darkening. They've been stealing our resources for centuries, far more than they claimed they needed for protection. Similar reports came in throughout the day. Each hour brought news of another world discovering the true extent of the Council's deception. Some had been paying tribute for generations, believing they were too weak to resist. Admiral Gray entered the communications center with fresh intelligence. The Council's fleet is in disarray, he reported. Several of their member species have recalled their ships, refusing to support the old leadership. And the ones who remain loyal to Ward? Stone asked. Trapped in their own bases, Gray smiled. Seems we weren't the only ones with hidden defense systems. Once other worlds saw our example, they stopped hiding their true capabilities. President Adams joined them via hologram. The Centauri ambassador just contacted me. They're proposing a new alliance, one based on mutual respect rather than fear. 6 other systems have already expressed interest in joining. Reed studied the galactic map, watching as more and more systems declared their independence from Council control. Green lights were replacing red across the display, showing worlds that had broken free. We should be careful, Stone warned. The Council's old guard won't give up power easily. They still have supporters. True, Cooper agreed, but their network is falling apart. Every secure channel they used to maintain control is now compromised. Their victims are talking to each other, sharing information we helped them uncover. A new message appeared on the main screen. The Andromeda Trading Alliance, a powerful group that had remained neutral in Council affairs, was officially cutting all ties with the old regime. The Council's economic foundation is crumbling, Reed observed. Without their extortion payments and forced trade agreements, they can't maintain their power. President Adams smiled. Then perhaps it's time to propose an alternative. Not just for Earth, but for all species who want fair and honest relations. A new galactic alliance? Reed asked. Exactly. One where every member stands as an equal. No more protection fees. No more extortion. Stone pulled up the latest fleet positions. Earth's ships now patrolled openly, their advanced technology a clear sign that humanity was ready to help maintain peace in this new order. The council thought they were springing a trap on a primitive species, Cooper said. Instead, they accidentally revealed their own crimes to the entire galaxy. Reed watched as another system declared independence. Sometimes the best way to fight corruption isn't with weapons, he observed. Sometimes you just need to shine a light in the dark corners. The ripples of Earth's stand against tyranny continued to spread across the stars, bringing hope to worlds that had lived too long in fear. The age of council dominance was ending. Something better was about to begin. First Speaker Ward wasn't going to let his power slip away without a fight. After 3 weeks of watching his control crumble, he gathered what remained of the council fleet for one final attempt to restore order. The humans have destroyed everything we built, he told his loyal commanders. We will show the galaxy what happens to those who defy the council's authority. But Earth was ready. They had been watching the council's every move through their quantum intelligence network. Before Ward's fleet even entered the solar system, Commander Lisa Wells of Earth's Defense Force was already positioning her ships. They're coming in with everything they have left, Wells reported to the command center. 97 ships, mostly older models, about half their original fleet strength. Admiral Gray studied the tactical display. How many of their member species refused to join this attack? Most of them, Cooper answered from his intelligence station. Only the worlds that profited most from the Council's corruption are still supporting Ward. The others have either declared neutrality or openly sided with Earth. President Adams joined via secure hologram. Commander Wells, are our allies in position? Yes, Madam President. The Centauri and Rigel defense fleets are standing by, hidden behind Jupiter's moons. They're eager to help after centuries of Council oppression. The Council fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system in a flash of light. Ward's voice boomed across all channels. People of Earth, you have spread lies and chaos through the galaxy. Surrender now, and we may show mercy. Director Stone allowed herself a small smile. They still think they're in control. Should we show them how wrong they are? Not yet, Wells advised. Let them come closer. Let's see what they think they can accomplish. The Council fleet moved forward aggressively, their weapons charged. They expected to find Earth protected only by its shield wall. They had spent weeks trying to find a way through its defenses. They're powering up their main weapons, Cooper reported. They think they found a weakness in our shield grid. Have they? Adams asked. No, Wells answered. They found the weakness we wanted them to find. They're about to fire everything they have at a trap. Ward's voice came through again. This is your final warning. Disable your defenses and submit to Council authority. President Adams nodded to Commander Wells. Show them our response. Wells pressed a single button on her command console. Across the solar system, hundreds of hidden defense platforms activated. The Council fleet suddenly found itself surrounded by weapons they hadn't detected. Council vessels, Wells broadcast, power down your weapons. We don't want to destroy you. Ward's angry reply came instantly. Fire. Break through their defenses. The Council fleet fired their weapons at Earth's shield wall, but the energy beams passed straight through the shield's supposed weak point and into empty space. The real shield wall activated a kilometer higher, its energy grid far more advanced than anything the Council had seen. All ships, execute Plan Delta, Wells commanded. Earth's fleet decloaked directly behind the Council forces, along with their Centauri and Rigel allies. Each ship targeted the non-critical systems of a Council vessel: engines, weapons, and shields. One last chance, Ward, Wells announced. Stand down, or we will disable your entire fleet. The Council commander responded by ordering his ships to fire again. This time, Earth didn't wait. Precisely targeted beams struck Council ships across their formation. Within seconds, half their fleet lost power. The other half found their weapons disabled by exact hits that exploited the weaknesses humanity had discovered weeks ago. Stop. Ward's voice had lost its confidence. How did you? This is impossible. No, Wells replied calmly. This is what happens when you underestimate those you try to oppress. All Earth ships disable their remaining weapons. Careful shots only. We don't want any casualties. The battle, if it could even be called that, ended in less than 5 minutes. The mighty Council fleet floated powerless, their ships dark except for emergency life support. In Earth's command center, President Adams turned to her advisors. Send in the rescue ships. Let's show them how civilized people treat their defeated enemies. The age of Council dominance was over. A new era of galactic cooperation was about to begin. 1 month after the Council fleet's surrender, representatives from 57 spacefaring species gathered in Earth's newly constructed space assembly. The Grand Meeting Hall, built in orbit around Earth, symbolized humanity's commitment to transparency. Its walls were made of clear energy shields, giving everyone a view of the stars they now shared peacefully. Ambassador Reed stood at the podium, looking out at the gathered delegates. Species that had been enemies under Council rule now sat side by side, working together to build something new. The old Council ruled through fear and secrecy, Reed began. Today, we choose a different path. The galactic coalition we're creating will be built on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and true cooperation. Director Stone sat in Earth's section with Cooper, watching as their months of planning finally bore fruit. On screens around the assembly, evidence of the old Council's crimes was displayed for all to see. The corruption that had once seemed unstoppable now lay exposed to the light of day. The first order of business, Reed continued, is justice. Former First Speaker Ward and his conspirators will face trial for their crimes. But this trial will be different from what they expected. Ward and the other Council leaders sat in a secure area, their arrogance replaced by resignation. They had expected execution or imprisonment. Instead, they found themselves facing something far more challenging: accountability. Each world you exploited will present evidence, Reed explained. You will hear the stories of those you harmed. And then, you will help make it right. Your knowledge, your resources, your expertise, all of it will be used to rebuild what you destroyed. President Adams stood next to Reed. But punishment alone isn't enough. We must build safeguards to prevent this from happening again. That's why Earth is sharing our quantum monitoring technology with all coalition members. The assembly murmured in approval. Earth's technology would allow every species to detect and prevent secret fleet movements or hidden weapons. The days of surprise attacks and hidden armies were over. Commander Wells, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, presented the next proposal. The Coalition Defense Force will be a true cooperative effort. Every member world will contribute ships and crews. No single species will have control. We will protect trade routes and respond to natural disasters, not enforce one group's will over others. The Centauri Prime Minister spoke next. My people lived in fear of Council retaliation for generations. Now, for the first time, we can focus on exploration and discovery instead of survival. Representatives from other worlds shared similar stories. The Rigel system announced new trade agreements. The Andromeda Alliance proposed joint scientific missions. Former enemies began planning cooperative ventures. But what about less developed worlds? Someone asked. How will we treat them differently than the Council did? Reed smiled. We'll offer them knowledge and opportunities, not demands and threats. Any species that wants to join our coalition will be welcomed as equals. Those who wish to develop on their own will be left in peace. Cooper's quantum sensors detected something interesting during the meeting. Worlds that had been bitter rivals under Council rule were already forming unofficial information-sharing networks. The same technology that had helped Earth resist the Council was now helping build trust between former enemies. As the Assembly concluded its first session, President Adams made one final announcement. Earth fought for freedom from extortion. But that was just the beginning. Together, we'll build something the Council never could. A galaxy where strength serves justice and knowledge serves all. The Space Assembly erupted in applause. Outside the transparent walls, ships from dozens of worlds flew in formation, their crews working together to patrol trade routes once controlled by Council forces. In Earth's command center, Admiral Gray watched the Coalition fleet with satisfaction. "Think we'll ever face another threat like the Council?" he asked Stone. She shook her head. "Not as long as we remember the lesson we taught them. Never underestimate those you think are weaker than you. There's strength in unity. Real unity, not forced submission." The stars shone brightly through the assembly's clear walls, seeming to promise a future brighter than anyone had imagined just a few months ago. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not as conquerors or victims, but as liberators. The age of extortion was over. The age of cooperation had begun.